former Tory government advisor, James Price. Well, James, while our asylum seeker friends settle into their new 4-star luxury hotel, the Britannia in Canary Wharf, swimming pool, games room, bars, restaurants. We'll bring you some pictures of that later on, folks. Very nice. Really good deal for them as well. They don't have to pay for it. We pay for it. They're in there for free. Good, isn't it? Let's talk about...
Also, the fact, by the way, it's called the Britannia, right? Just really rubbing our noses in it.
Yeah, it is a chain. I think they've done a deal with the government. But listen, let's talk about people smugglers. This is the latest bid to smash the gangs. This is announced by David Lammy with the backing, of course, of Keir Starmer. Gang leaders, corrupt officials, bent cops, fake passport dealers and small boat suppliers will be targeted for public naming and shaming and financial sanctions. Tomorrow morning, apparently, Wednesday, 24 alleged migrant crisis villains will be unmasked and have their assets attacked. So, if we know who these people are, why are we just sanctioning them, you know, sort of closing their bank accounts? Why don't we just arrest them and put them in prison? Something like that. Wouldn't that sort of amount to smashing the gangs a little bit more effectively than saying, right, we're going to switch off your bank account because, trust me, these people are going to have more than one bank account?
I honestly thought this was a parody story. I just read it, right? This idea that these scumbags who are scurrying around the kind of the beaches outside Calais are going to be like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to Monzo over some money anymore. My, you know, or my Amex might have some of its points taken away from it. It's just absolutely ludicrous. As you say, if you know who these people are, the moderate option is to go and arrest them and throw them in a dark pit somewhere, I think is perfectly sensible, given what they're doing is invading our country. It's just to set the SAS after them and shoot these people. I really think that we're at the point now where the national crisis is so bad that we need to be doing things like this. And Dominic Cummings has said that it would be trivially easy to stop these gangs and their business models. It is just a couple of dinghies after all. And we do have the whole of the English Channel that successfully kept Philip II out, it successfully kept Napoleon out, successfully kept Hitler out, and so on and so on and so on for a very long time. And we do still have two bloody great aircraft carriers and a navy and an air force and all the rest of it. The idea that it's sort of technical reasons we can't do it, or that silly ideas like this of sanctioning criminals and being named and shamed is going to stop any of them is for the birds. Until and unless Starmer, of course he won't do it, but until and unless Starmer or anyone else in the government changes the fundamental rules that the lawyers have put in place that mean that the smugglers and the people who they're bringing over have a right to a family life under the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, we will never get any of this done. And if a prime minister under the current legal system does, again, as Dominic Cummings, who knows this because he's asked the people in the deep state when he was in power, if a prime minister did say, right, go and use whatever force you need to smash these people up, the cabinet secretary would theoretically try and have the prime minister arrested. What kind of democracy are we living in again?
Oh, God, no kind of democracy. The deputy chair of the Migration Advisory Committee, Dr. Madeleine Sumption, said she would be surprised if these sanctions were a game changer for the industry as a whole and for the existence of the small boats route generally. In other words, they'll have no effect at all. But just to go back to, you know, what I said at the outset, let's just recap, because I just think it's astonishing. So tomorrow, apparently, the government is going to name and shame 24 people who have been profiteering from people smuggling. You know, as I said, gang leaders, corrupt officials, bent cops, fake passport dealers and small boat suppliers. These are all people who've been making money from the people smuggling racket. And they're going to name them, shame them, and then impose financial sanctions. So is that the new crime-busting method of this government? So if you go and rob a bank, Keir Starmer will turn out and say, well, once you put that money in an account, we'll freeze that account and you won't be able to get to it, will you? I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, why don't they just arrest them?
I feel like I've been day drinking hearing this stuff, right? Or maybe I just wish I had.
Let's have a drink, for God's sake.
I'm going to need to. That instead of going and arresting these people, as you say, you're going to go to the dinghy shops of northern France and say, "Oi, mate, You haven't been selling that dinghy to any nefarious sanctioned individual, have you? Oh, no, mon ami. It's just for the little people who want to go on the beach and play, right? Can we not get serious about this? As you say, Kev, you know who these people are, you arrest them. If you don't know who they are, you just go, as various reporters have done, along to the beaches. You'll find them and take a Stanley knife with you, slash up the dinghy, and then you can arrest them. This stuff is not difficult to do. And it is, I'm afraid, a wider symptom of the illness at the heart of our state of our democracy, that we cannot even do simple things like this. How are we supposed to get to grips with our sovereign debt crisis? How are we supposed to get to grips with the Russians or the Chinese? How are we supposed to get to grips with a healthcare service that has been run very terribly, probably since about 1948? How are we going to do all of these actually difficult things? How are we going to deal with artificial intelligence and the kind of big epoch changes that that's going to cause if we can't even stop a couple of two-bit thugs in dinghies, and all we go around doing is saying, oh, actually, we'll sanction their ability to buy the boats? Insanity.
Yeah, by the way, James, these people are pretty... I mean, we don't know much about who the hell these people smugglers are or their operation, but they're pretty sophisticated. You know, I think Starmer thinks they're like this sort of mafia or something. They're all hanging out in some kind of clubhouse playing pool, you know, talking about kind of hitting people and that kind of stuff. You know, we don't even know what these gangs actually constitute, what they're made up of. But I'll tell you this, they're sophisticated people, and their money moves internationally. You know, closing down their account at Lloyd's, that's not really going to hit them hard. It's pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And again, the bit that's most infuriating about this is, to your point, what you asked the question, why don't we just arrest them? That is the solution to so many of our problems, that Britain could be and should be a paradise to live in. And all you've got to do is lock up all the wrong-uns, all the scumbags, all the criminals, whether it's the people coming over in small boats, or it's the yobbo in the balaclava who nicks your phone out of your hand, or it's the person who goes and beats you up in the middle of the night, or any of these people. We just lock up these people and frankly throw away the key at this point for a good long time. You just watch and see Britain repair itself.
A bit of law and order. I think Nigel Farage made a lot of sense yesterday and struck a chord with the people.